I play a little bit of
we've been here for like 40 years in Krishna consciousness.
Oh.
We are old, like in the beginning of 80s. But unfortunately, we never learned to play. I know Kartalas, but everything. The only thing I was attracted to was prasadam and the holy name.
Yeah.
To chant. That's all I can do.
But that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing. You have 9 processes, and any of them can make you perfect.
Yeah.
So that's
Förstår
amazing.
du svenska också?
Lite grann. But usually I prefer to do it in English because then everybody they will understand and it's more fluid for me. I don't have to think so much about which words, because the Danish and Swedish is so similar, but then there are specific words that change the whole context. Like we have the translation of the Bhagavad Gita in Danish. They were looking to the Swedish translation, so they got some verses completely off.
Okay.
Like the verse that goes, the temporary appearance of happiness and distress. And temporary in Swedish is tillfällig. Tillfällig. But in Danish it means that it's coincidental.
It's going?
Coincidental. So it's a completely different meaning. So and they translated it literally into coincidental. So we had to change it, like the last edition that Laditsanath he was always seeing. They removed those faults. So there are some very big differences, but so similar.
I think he has to call back. Maybe we can start and
we just start. We just start.
Men du saknar ju honom. Han är ganska som sjöng så vackert. Nej.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesta Sunyavadi Paskacha Disatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesta Sunyavadi Paskacha Disatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva.
Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Panchatattva.
Jaya Nitya Lila Parista, Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parikrajaya Jaya Astottara Sat Shish Srimad Bhavacharya Narinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Guru Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kahoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopika Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Gita Gaura Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samavita Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All honor to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All honors to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All honors to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All honors to She, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So on this auspicious occasion of Ekadashi, I have been asked to say a little bit.
You can put it on here.
On here? Yes.
That some cable is missing, so it's not getting connected.
Should I speak louder? Ah, okay. Yeah, I can speak loud. No, I used to work in a swimming pool. There you have to be pretty loud to get heard, so I can put up the voice a bit. Now, on this auspicious occasion of Ekadashi, I've been asked to say a few words of understanding on the topic of devotional service. So I figured the most basic of our scriptures, it's like the ABC, is the Bhagavad Gita. So I chose a verse from Bhagavad Gita. You probably know it already. It's from the 4th chapter, verse 34, about the spiritual master. So this will be the entrance. And the verse goes, Sadvidi prani pratena pari prashnena sevaya upadeksham te jnananam jnananinastavadarshina. And the translation goes, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So the purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult, The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as it is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranijam. The path of religions is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. On this, there is submission and service. Inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So, this is, you can say, the entrance into the spiritual path. Because, as Prabhupada says in the purport, if we are just studying on our own, we don't get the full understanding, because we are still conditioned. At least I can talk for myself, but most of us are still conditioned. And when we're reading the scriptures, even though they're perfect and in disciplic succession, we might have our misconceptions applied to the understanding of the knowledge. So therefore we have to approach a spiritual master who has seen the truth, as Krishna he says. That means that he has applied the knowledge in his life himself. So he came to the point of not just understanding, but realizing the knowledge. There's a subtle difference. Just the information is called jnana, and that's just, the book in itself. But when we apply that knowledge in our life, then it becomes part of our nature. It becomes realized knowledge. That's called vijnan. But that only comes from the application. And that brings us back to the verse where it says that you have to approach the spiritual master, you have to inquire from him submissively. And then you have to apply that knowledge in your life. That is what is meant by serving him. Because his instructions, they have a relevance for us in our life. And the spiritual master, because he has seen it in his own life, he can see our nature and give us the right kind of instructions. So there's a process. When you approach the spiritual master, you're getting some knowledge, and first is called, shravanam, you're listening. So, but then we are supposed to contemplate, what does this mean? It's the manana aspect. And then we're supposed to apply it in our life, the nididhyasana. And then there might be some doubt that's coming. And that's natural, because that's part of the process, as Prabhupada tells in the purport, there's this reciprocation of inquiries, but the inquiry has to be based on the application of the knowledge. It's not just because we have an interest, but how does this work in my life? And that can bring up a doubt. And we have to formulate that doubt into a question in such a way that the spiritual master, he can help us remove that doubt, and then we can progress in spiritual life. So then the next point could be, okay, so what do I need to ask about? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 4 verses that are kind of like the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chatusloki Bhagavatam. And in one of those verses, number 2934, Krishna, he says about himself, he says, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So it only appears to be in darkness. The point is that everything is Krishna. And everything that we are attracted to is Krishna. We just don't see it because we are so conditioned that we think the form of something is what is giving us satisfaction. But the form is just a manifestation of one of Krishna's qualities. This is what is called the Brahman understanding. Like, we oftentimes say that there are 3 levels of understanding of spiritual life. There's Brahman, there's Paramatma, and there's Bhagavan. So the Brahman is just the nature of things. And we have this tendency from our background to think that when Brahman is mentioned, it means the Brahmajyoti. The Brahmajyoti is the effulgence of Krishna. But that effulgence is actually Krishna's qualities that are entering this material world, and they are the ones that we're attracted to. It's not the form of the object, but there is something underneath that we're attracted to, some quality of Krishna, and that's different from person to person. Like, you can take the example of the house. Like, a house is pretty attractive, but for different reasons. One person thinks it's practical, I have some place to sleep, I have some place, where I can feel safe. Another person sees prestige, I have a fancy house, and people, they kind of, envy me and those kind of things. So it's another quality, but it's still Krishna. But the form is the same, but different parts of Krishna are what we're attracted to. Then other people might be attracted to the aesthetics, they might be attracted to whatever. We are 8,400,000 kind of mentalities in one sense that are possible. And then we have all the mixtures of the mixtures of the mixtures. So the point is that in Sri Upanishad, verse 11, which is kind of like the essence of all the Vedic literatures. When you have the Upanishads, they're like the philosophical parts of the Vedas, but it's just cut down to the philosophy. There's no explanation of the application directly in it. But Gita is also called Gita Upanishad. So in one sense, it's like Isha Upanishad, which is the highest of the Upanishads, but the practical application of that. But in Sri Upanishad, verse 11, Krishna, he says, actually it's Vishnu who says in this case, but it's the same person. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So you can say you have the direct things and the indirect things. In our process, like we say that there's actually just one rule. It's kind of like two, but it's one rule. Always remember Krishna. And the backside of that is never forget Krishna. Point is that the always remember Krishna, that's all the direct activities, all those things that are directly connected to Krishna. Like, you have Rupa Goswami, he has analyzed all the spiritual processes into 64 different ones, and out of those, 5 ones are the main ones. So there's, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or any religious scripture associated with devotees, living in the holy dham, worshipping the deities, and did I say sadhu sangha? I always forget one. So those activities that we are engaged in here, for example, when you're coming to the temple, they are direct spiritual activities. So whether you're conscious of them being spiritual or not, they give a spiritual effect. But the potential is there for all the other activities in your life to be connected to Krishna if you see what qualities of Krishna you are attracted to in them. So there's a tendency that we focus on the direct things, and then, that's for Krishna, and then we have the rest of our life, and that's kind of for me, but that makes a two-tied life. It means, you have 2 tracks, and they're kind of going different directions. But if you align those things that are seemingly material, as Krishna he says in Bhagavatam, with the devotional process, you're taking those things that have a tendency to deviate you from the direct things, from remembering Krishna, and then you're connecting them. And this is, you can say, always remember Krishna is the do, and never forget Krishna is the don't. So these seemingly material activities, even though they have the potency to take us away from Krishna, they can actually be the most powerful tool for us to move towards Krishna, because these things are things that we are naturally attracted to, and we have a tendency to keep them to ourselves. But actually, everything in our life should be connected to Krishna. We are supposed to be 24 hours a day conscious of Krishna. This is what is meant by Krishna consciousness. So in beginning, we might not be able to perform all of our activities just for the pleasure of Krishna. And that's natural, because we have selfish desires. That is what's called mixed devotional service, or mishra. So we have activities, that is called karma, and we have knowledge, that's called jnana, and then we have the meditation on the Lord, that's called jnana. So first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna here is explaining those are elements of Buddhi Yoga. It's another word for Bhakti Yoga. It basically means that we have to connect our activities through knowledge to Krishna, in that sense that we can always be conscious of Him. So that way we can achieve samadhi even in our daily life. It means like always being focused on Krishna. So in that sense, it's important for us to inquire, as Krishna he said, in the beginning in Bhagavad Gita, because this inquiry has to be about our life, what is relevant to our life. And then we might have the selfish motives in that, but because we are connecting those selfish motives to Krishna, then they will become gradually purified, and we will elevate ourselves to the point where we are performing the activities because it's our duty. And then in the end, we will come to the point where we do it out of love for Krishna, and we will perform them in a way that's pleasing to him. But for that to happen, first we have to give up our selfish desires, and that only comes by connecting all those desires to Krishna. So this is actually what is explained in Bhagavad Gita, and this is the ABC. In one sense, the last verse of Bhagavad Gita is the first verse of Bhagavatam. So if you don't have the understanding of this philosophy that Bhagavad Gita gives, you don't really have access to what is happening in the Bhagavatam. And I've been reading Bhagavad Gita many, many times on my own, and I didn't get anything from it in one sense. Yeah, I got purified and it was very interesting, but only when I met a teacher, a guru, that was able to explain to me what it really meant, I could apply it in my life. So this again, and you can say that in one sense it's like, okay, I have, a spiritual master. Maybe I've been initiated, maybe I haven't, but who is the spiritual master? In one sense, everybody who's giving you instructions is a guru in one sense. Maybe he's not giving you spiritual instructions, but anybody you are receiving some understanding from is a guru. Even your teacher who teaches you how to drive a car. But when you are approaching someone who has the spiritual vision, then he can understand where your question will be properly answered in a spiritual term. But that means that we have to go a little deeper in ourselves and try to understand who we are. Because, again, going back to Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he says in the first 6 chapters, actually in the whole Gita, he's trying to get Arjuna to do his duty. So what does duty mean? It means acting according to your nature. That is what is called austerity. It's not something that is not connected to you. It's not something that's just, heavy, and you just do it, because you grind your teeth and then you're getting a result. Actually, austerity is supposed to be the application of your nature in relationship to Krishna. But for you to apply that properly, then you have to look into yourself and see what are your motives for acting. Because that defines what your nature is. So to analyze that, then we have different tools. We have the 3 gunas, the material qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then you also have, how to say this? You have varnashram, because varnashram is a combination of these qualities. The person who has the Brahminical nature has a tendency to be in goodness. They're looking for knowledge, and they will sacrifice themselves for knowledge. They live for truth. That's a mode of goodness. The person who is in a mixture of goodness and passion, they can see everything as it's supposed to be, but they have a little more of the passionate nature. They're the Kshatriyas, and they have the desire to protect those that are weaker than themselves. So that's the nature of the Kshatriya. It doesn't mean that you have a crown and a sword and you would like to fight. Even Sudras, they like to fight. But they will give up their life for protecting others. And then you have a mixture of passion and ignorance. That's the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas, they're living for gain. Everything should expand. I put in some money, I'm getting more out of it. That's their mentality, and they will give up their life for that. They go to war for that. And then you have the the Shudra nature, which is mainly ignorance. But for them, the expression of their nature, like their mentalities, that's what they're living for. They want to give up their life for that. They don't want to give up the life. Nobody wants to give up their life, but they're ready to give up their life for that. So if we analyze ourselves, then we can see our motives and understand what kind of nature we have. And then we look at our life. We see, okay, I'm attracted to having a secure job. That's also part of Sudra. So we analyze using all these different methods, basically, and then we understand what is our nature, and every nature has an application in relation not just to God, but we have that relationship through other people and even the material nature, the dead nature. So we look at our whole life and try to understand who we are, and then we become conscious. And then from applying that through this process of inquiring from the spiritual master, then we will be able to spiritualize those things that are seemingly material. And that is what Krishna he says in the Bhagavatam. He says, whatever looks to be without connection to me, that's actually Maya. So the point being that Krishna consciousness is not defined by a form or specific activities. It's actually mentality. It's a way of seeing things. So when you are inquiring from the spiritual master, then you are gaining knowledge, and that will give you what is called Shastra Chakshush, because books are the basis. So everything the spiritual master he gives is based on books. Not just any books, but the Vedas. So when you see everything through this kind of understanding, then you're seeing everything through the eyes of scriptures. And then you will be able to take the right decisions to bring you closer to Krishna instead of away from Krishna. So the process of inquiry is very important. Even though we might not be intellectual, we all want to achieve results. And this brings us to another tool that we are taught in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya, he says, that everything has to be viewed according to what's called Vastutrayi. That means relationship, process, and goal. Every action has a result, and there is a specific process to gain that result. So if we understand the relationship, we understand who we are, we understand who Krishna is, we understand what the material world is, the energy is, and we understand the nature of action that is happening within time. These are the 5 topics in the Bhagavad Gita. So with this understanding, this Shastra Chakshush, then we can use intelligence to guide the mind to make the right decisions, because it's actually the mind who makes the decisions. It's not the intelligence. The intelligence just brings up options. It's like stored in the intelligence is the memory of past activities. Okay, I did this activity, I got this certain result. Okay, so then the mind is looking at that. Is this pleasurable? Is this, something I want? Or is it not something I want? And then it chooses according to that. So the central point is the mind. And we're trying to control the mind. It's the central point in all spiritual practice. Even, when you're coming to mindfulness, it's again the same. Even though it's not the highest way, but still any spiritual process is working on somehow controlling the mind. And there is a specific potency in both spiritual and material, that if you're performing unselfish activities, then you are elevating yourself. So you take those decisions based on spiritual instructions, then you will progress in spiritual life. And that's why, again, it has to be based on contemplation on how this applies in my life. Because, as Krishna he says in Bhagavad Gita, we all have to perform our duty, not someone else's duty. Because even though we might perform them faultily, then still it's connected to our mentality. So from doing that, we will actually gain an understanding of what we're doing wrong, in one sense, if we're using the intelligence. But again, this is where we can use the spiritual master in one sense. We take, that doubt that comes up, and we bring it to the spiritual master, and he will try to help us to understand. But that also means that we might not just have one spiritual master. Like, we have two different kinds of gurus. There's the Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru. The Diksha Guru is giving you spiritual initiation. The Shiksha Guru is the one who's giving you instructions. And the Diksha Guru is supposed to be the one who's the main Shiksha Guru. He's the main instructing Guru as well. But there might be parts of his life that is not compatible with our understanding of things. So in some areas we have to approach another person to ask. Like, somebody might know about cooking, so you ask him about cooking. Maybe your initiating spiritual master doesn't know that much about cooking, so you ask him about it. It's not that you're cherry picking and just choosing from whom you're supposed to follow the instructions. The instruction given by your initiating spiritual master is the most important. But if you don't understand his instructions in a way that you can apply it in your life, you might have to search from another person. Like in my case, I'm a disciple of Jayapataka Maharaj, but a lot of my shiksha I'm getting from others. For example, I was in the Mayapur Gurukul, following for many years the teachers there. So a lot of this knowledge I have from them, but it doesn't mean that he's not my initiating spiritual master. Yeah, there's a lot to say, actually. So again, to bring it back to the point about relationship, process and goal, we all have desires, and that's natural. This is part of the soul, because we want to achieve something. We want to interact with others to get an experience. And that experience is what is generating our happiness, both materially and spiritually. So to understand the nature of these relationships are also important. And again, we can understand that by studying the scriptures, understanding the nature of ourselves, and understanding the nature of the material world. So, in one sense, you can say it's about duality. And a lot of people, they think that duality is only dealing with the material world. But in one sense, there's also a duality in the spiritual world. Our philosophy is called Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. It means that there's duality and there's oneness simultaneously, but in an inconceivable way. So in one sense, the duality is also there in the spiritual world as the masculine and feminine energy. Like Krishna, he's one, but he's also two, and he's also three. He's one as Atmaram, he's satisfied in himself, but it's not satisfying just being with yourself. So he expands as two, as Radharani, who's the Purna Shakti. She's the whole energy. So you have Krishna and you have his energies. So this is the masculine and the feminine principle. The masculine principle is the principles by which everything works. And the feminine nature is the form that these qualities then manifest themselves through. And this is reflected here in this material world. When we see this floor, it has the potency to keep me up. So that's Krishna's strength. So in one sense, it is Krishna. In principle, it's Krishna. But the manifestation is Radharani. And they are interacting on all levels. And we can become instrumental in their interaction through understanding these things and seeing them in the right perspective. This is kind of like it's a process that takes time. But the point about the whole spiritual knowledge is that it gives us the principles. And those principles, they apply in all kinds of situations. So that specific situation we are in are the detail. But if we understand the principle, we can apply the knowledge in every circumstance, any situation. It just takes contemplation and that drive. But we are all looking for Krishna. And in one sense, we will only be happy when we connect everything to Krishna. Because we're looking for happiness in, these temporary things. Not understanding that the temporary nature of their manifestation is just like the covering. What we're actually attracted to is the qualities that are behind them. And when we see what those qualities are that we are attracted to, we get a better understanding of what our nature is. And you can say that right now we are conditioned, so acting on that is acting on the conditioned platform, and that is in one sense true, but if you connect that to Krishna, then it will be transformed from seeing it materially to seeing it spiritually. And this is what Krishna is talking about in the verse in Bhagavad Gita, that whatever seems to be without connection to me, that's Maya. That's illusory energy. We have to bring ourselves back to the point of seeing Krishna in everything. This is, even though this is the Brahman understanding, it's just the existence, it's actually the basis of how you see Krishna all the time, in one sense. The perfect example is the gopis. The time when Krishna he left Vrindavan, they were devastated. They wandered around in the forest of Vrindavan like mad women, and they were looking for Krishna everywhere. But everything they saw made them remember Krishna. They saw the black tamal tree, they remember Krishna. They saw the bee, they asked, where's Krishna, You've probably been humming around his flower garland, so you probably know where he is. Everything they saw reminded them of Krishna. This is what is called Udipan. Udipan means like when the mother, she sees the shoes of the child, she remembers the child. Because she knows that this is connected to the child. And if we understand, at least intellectually, and try to apply that in our life, that everything is connected to Krishna, then everything can be connected to Krishna, and we can be Krishna conscious all the time. But this is a gradual process. We start from where we are, even though it's conditioned, and that's what's in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna talks about Mishra Bhakti. That means mixed. So when you take those parts of your life that are mixed and connect them, getting purified, and you see them in a more and more pure light, and you become more and more conscious of Krishna. So this is a process. It takes dedication, but it's also pleasurable, because whenever you see Krishna more, then you are actually interacting with him. And whenever you take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards you. So the essence is just start from where you are, and then gradually what you are not will be revealed. And that again brings us back to this whole thing about the direct and the indirect. Always remember Krishna. They're the direct things. And never forget Krishna. They're the indirect things. The direct things are the do's, what we should do. And we should focus on that, because that's doing the spiritual things are much more powerful than not doing the material things. It's in our consciousness, it's not possible not to do something, in one sense. It's like, you have a cramp. It's difficult to let go of that, but it's easy to flex the muscle, in one sense. And in the same way, our consciousness, it's much easier to connect something positive than try to not do something negative. So we should focus on applying all the do's first, like everything that we're supposed to connect to Krishna, and then gradually we will understand what is not supposed to be done, and we will give that up automatically, because the spiritual is so much more powerful than material. The spiritual, it will erase everything. It's not that we try to clean our mind and then we clean our mind. It's actually Krishna who's doing it. But we have to align ourselves and be ready to let go of those things that are not good for us, because Krishna, he will never go against our free will. If we want something, he will let us have it, even though we will suffer from it. That's how merciful he is. So we should try to focus on the positive things, in one sense. And then again, don't do the stupid things, like don't eat meat, don't do intoxication, don't have illicit sex, and don't do gambling, because they have a detrimental effect on the mind. So we should also do the don'ts, in one sense, but we should focus more on the do's, on the things that will bring us closer to Krishna, because spiritual energy is not just more powerful than the material. It's actually the only thing there is. Material is just forgetting the spiritual. In the same way that darkness or the shadow is just the absence of light. So this is our process, and we have to balance. We have to balance. So everything comes in the right amount when we start to use the intelligence. Are there any questions at this point? Yes?
Hare Krishna. Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you. You are here today. Just where you mentioned before one example, all the qualities exist are the Krishna.
Yes.
And you have it one example about the home.
Yes.
And many people, they see in different ways.
Yes.
How it is these qualities. And if it is everything Krishna, the people might see it differently. It is the illusion already they have in their mind or their thought, and who it is the truth, who it is Krishna in this case, or it is all of them, idea the people have in this illusion. How you can explain this?
I don't understand the question.
If everything it is Krishna, all
Yes.
the qualities exist.
Yes.
And the people, they have different mindset or look in the things in different ways.
Yes.
this it is like their idea or illusion, or it is still Krishna?
No, the illusion is also Krishna.
It is Krishna.
Krishna, he gives you knowledge and he gives you forgetfulness if you want to have it.
Yes, and these are all the qualities of Krishna. Just
Yes.
the different people, they see different ways, these qualities.
Yes.
And exists just one truth where the people, they are looking for Krishna. Okay, if it is all the qualities Krishna, they never be separate from Krishna.
No,
because
but
they see different,
then
how you explain
nobody
this?
is separated from Krishna, but some people, they don't see that they're connected to Krishna. They're not conscious about that. So if, even though they are attracted to Krishna in that sense, you know, everybody is acting for Krishna because they want to achieve Krishna, then the people who don't see that connection, they don't get the benefit of interacting with Krishna. Instead, they're interacting with the material energy, because there is actually, Maya is one person, but she has two different capacities. She's the internal energy and she's the external energy. The internal energy is everything that is Brahman. She's, you know, the form of everything in the spiritual world. But when we look at that nature, the spiritual nature, with selfish motives, she transforms. And then she becomes Mahamaya instead. She becomes the material world. So this is a mentality, it changes, but it's actually the same person. It's the same person. So this is also, in essence, spiritual. But if you see it in a material way, if you want to enjoy it separately from Krishna, it's material. But if you see it as part of Krishna and you want to engage with it as such, even with selfish motives mixed into it, it's still spiritualized. And by interacting with Krishna through this spiritualized nature, then you will elevate yourself.
And this is why the people will be frustrated, just the way they are looking.
Yeah.
We're disconnected with the Krishna, it is always in the night.
But they're still getting benefit. Because people who are doing material activities are still getting results.
Yeah.
And those results are those that actually satisfy them. But because they are in a material consciousness, it's only that moment where they remove that need that is there, then they are satisfied. And then again, they have to look for something, because they think that the form in itself and the result in itself is actually what they're looking for. But what we're looking for are interactions. The interactions are what is giving us, you know, the satisfaction. And not just satisfaction with material nature, but satisfaction, but interaction with the spiritual part of the nature.
For this comes suffering, they just do temporarily.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's, that is what is meant. There is no happiness here, because the only happiness here is removal of some suffering. When you're hungry, it's a suffering. It's a need in one sense. And when you remove that need, you feel, oh, now I'm happy. But it only lasts until you're full. And then there's no more happiness in eating. The same goes, you're outside, you're freezing, you're butt off, you know, and then you're getting inside and it's like, okay, now it's nice. But after some short amount of time, then the temperature is like aligned. And then again, you know, you're looking for something, because you were not seeing the essence of what you were looking for was Krishna. And if you're connecting yourself with Krishna and seeing all these things in a spiritual perspective, that interaction will expand, because it's unlimited.
I was thinking about it's so easy to find and see Krishna. Like a 5-year-old kid can find Krishna.
Yes.
You know, if you just follow the 4 principles and chant.
Yes.
I mean, it's really so easy.
It is, and that's because it's direct. Because all these things, like following the 4 regulator principles, getting up in the morning, meditating on Krishna, offering your food, eating that kind of food, it's direct, so it will actually give you not just lasting benefit, but eternal benefit. And whenever you remember that, then the same satisfaction is there, the same relationship is there. But when you remember a material activity, it's not the same. It's not the same. You get some kind of emotional, satisfaction thinking about the child and those kind of things, but it's not eternal. So that's why, again, we have to take those things and make our life as much as possible direct, directly connected to Krishna. But because we have selfish motives, then we also have to take those parts of our lives that we tend to do for ourselves and don't know how to connect, and connect that as well. And then you live a full life. And for most of us, at least I can say for myself, there's a lot to connect that I would like to keep for myself.
That you like to?
That I would like to keep for myself in one sense.
Yourself.
Yeah. Oh, that's my selfish mentality. And the more we are getting purified, the fewer things there are like that.
You mean we could become more and more simple, live more and more simple? Is that what you mean?
Doesn't have to be simple,
No.
actually. That's the point about what was his name? I'm not very good at names. There's this story from Chaitanya Charitamrita. One of the disciples of Chaitanya, he has his doubts about a king. How can he be spiritual? Because he's living in the palace, he has so much opulence, and then he sends him there and tells him, okay, explain this verse to him. And he tells him a verse. He's sitting on the throne, in the court, everybody's coming, bowing down to him. And he tells him this verse, and then he just faints in ecstasy because he remembers Krishna.
You mean the king?
Yeah, the king does. And he falls down from the throne and everything. So the point is that if you see everything through scriptures, then you can see all the complicated, all the sophisticated things in your life, also connected to Krishna. And if that is within your nature, you don't have to make it more simple. It's different from person to person. One person is perfectly happy living in a straw hut, going out, to the well, taking the water, taking a bath. Other people, they need, like a palace. And that's their level. It doesn't mean that we all have to be simple. Like different mentalities in the spiritual world, we're also different. We all have different roles, and there are, kings and brahmanas and shudras and vaishyas and all of those, and they all have different levels of sophistication in life. But you can say simple in the sense that instead of seeing that I think I'm getting my happiness from this and this and that, you see the essence of all of it is Krishna. So you simplify your life, and then you see that principle, and that applies to everything. That's the detail. So by understanding these principles, you can apply them in all parts of your life. So this is the process of inquiry that Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita.
But I mean, the gopis, they didn't have books or anything.
No.
They just loved Krishna and leave everything behind.
True.
And
True.
nothing matters.
True. And that is the essence. That's why they're the highest. That is, their nature. But still, when they're discussing philosophy, they can explain everything much better than anybody else, because it's simultaneous oneness and difference, and that goes again in the philosophy. So their understanding is the highest, and even their life might be simple, still they understand the most complicated in one sense.
Isn't it also that Krishna gives you the knowledge?
Exactly, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That it's not because you study, then you will understand. When you satisfy Krishna by trying to understand him, by studying, then he will give you the understanding by which you can come to him. That's actually, and he's giving, forgetfulness as well. If you want to forget him, then you can do that. So it's always coming from Krishna. We are surrendering to him, and then he will guide us. He will purify us. But he will do that if we are... Krishna is reciprocating with us. Whatever we are looking for in him, he will give to us. This is, the consciousness is in the heart. The soul is in the heart. And the super soul is in the heart. So whatever we have in the heart, whatever we have in the consciousness, is actually how Krishna is approaching us. Because that is the nature of the masculine. The masculine, he creates the field, but then he interacts with us, who are the feminine, according to what our nature is. So, in one sense, the feminine nature is defining the application of the knowledge, but the principle by which it's working is the masculine. So, this is a little bit technical. Does that make sense? Yes.
I want you to uncover a little bit more about the do's.
Yes.
So, for example, I noticed from my life that sometimes, at some point, you might have some chances of doing something, of getting something, and due to laziness or fear or whatever circumstances, you pass those chances, and they don't happen for you.
Nah.
And I find out it's okay to live like that. But I wonder if Arjuna would not fight on this Kurukshetra, there will not be second Kurukshetra in his life. And how to understand where this is something we really need to do now. And whereas in other situations, just, an idea, a chance that you might skip, not fight,
Mm-hmm. And to take the example that you're using of Arjuna. Arjuna, his nature is to be a Kshatriya. So he will fight. And that's actually, he's trying to get away from that because he has a misunderstanding what is spiritual. He thinks it's giving up all activities. This is kind of our mentality as well, Spiritual is the opposite of material. And material is, I'm working for results. So, if I'm supposed to be spiritual, I will give up working for a result. And then he surrenders to Krishna, and Krishna, he tells him, you have to fight. And Arjuna, he's bewildered, and he says, okay, so why should I fight? You tell me to be spiritual, And Krishna, he laughs at him, and he says, okay, even if you go to the forest, you'll just find someone to fight there. So, you have to understand that what are your mentality is where you're dealing with. This, even though that we are acting out on a conditioned way, then by acting out that, it will be obvious what you're not. So that's the do. You take what is your mentality, what you are attracted to, and you connect that to Krishna. And that's where you are now. And this is your mentality. So it will not be unnecessarily austere. It's actually the austerity that's necessary for you. And it's also pleasurable for you in the process, because it's your nature. That's why Krishna, he says, you have to follow your nature, not someone else's. Even though it might be more prestigious or more attractive or something. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, in some sort of way, shade some light, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the point is that the do's, when I'm talking about do's in the bigger perspective, the do's are all the spiritual things. So actually what you're talking about is falling more into the don'ts, in one sense. It is what you have to do, but not to forget Krishna. But if you are just performing spiritual activities, that's the do's in one sense. And the other things that were the don'ts becomes the do's when you see them in connection to Krishna. So that only comes when you try to apply them, really, in the relationship to Krishna.
In one sense, Arjuna's choice was easier because he saw the God in front of him. He
Oh, yeah.
saw his,
Yeah,
all of this stuff. And we usually apply to what you call shikshas,
Yeah.
shiksha gurus everywhere.
But he is also representative of Krishna. That's the thing.
Who?
The guru.
Oh, yeah.
The guru, he's the external representative of Krishna. So and that's why he has to follow also Krishna. The more he's following Krishna, the more he is a good representative of Krishna. The less he's doing that, the less. But even your teacher who teaches you how to drive the car, he understood the principles by which cars are working. And that's Krishna. That principle is Krishna. But he doesn't see it in that way. So in one sense, he is serving Krishna through the material energy. And everybody is. Even all the karmis, all the people who don't want to have anything to do with Krishna, if they are to get any result, they have to worship Krishna through performing the activities according to their nature. And that is the principle which is the Brahman aspect. So there, in one sense, everybody's, relating to Krishna only. There's not a possibility otherwise, because there is nothing that's not Krishna. Yes?
Do you live 24 hours a day only for Krishna?
No, I'm very selfish. I'm very selfish.
Do you do anything else? You have a job or?
No, I don't have a job.
You were living in Mayapur for a long time.
Yeah. No, somehow Krishna, he showed me mercy and he is maintaining me. Of course, it's coming through other means, but it's Krishna who is maintaining me, because I came to a point where he saw me fit to just do this. But still I have a lot of, material motives, and that is how it is. And through the practice, then at the beginning is that we are analyzing. We're doing the manana, we're thinking, okay, how does this work? And then we see, at least in principle, what is the connection to Krishna. And then that thing, it becomes jnana, it becomes knowledge. And then by acting on that knowledge, then more and more we become conscious of that connection. In the beginning it's just, when you do the mental gymnastics of understanding it. But then when you start doing the practice, then gradually more and more the consciousness of the connection to Krishna, it pops up. Like once in a while, at least once a day, pops up, then maybe twice a day, then maybe 3 times a day, maybe it comes more and more and more. So that's what's called sadhana. Sadhana means we're practicing because we're not perfect.
But it's difficult now when we are retired and everything.
Yes.
It's difficult to just be reading and listening and chanting all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to take care of your body.
Exactly.
You have to go shopping and stuff.
Exactly. And all those things are those things that are not directly connected to Krishna. They can be connected indirectly. So that's what we're talking about, the two-tiered life. And most people, they will not be able to be just engaged in the direct activities all the time. So that's why we have to take with the intelligence and try to connect. We take everything in our life. You sit down in your house and you look at everything. Why do I have the rock there? Maybe it's because it keeps me warm, because otherwise it will be. Maybe it's because I like the look of it, the aesthetics of it. These are qualities of Krishna. So you look at your life, and you look at your home, you look at your relationships, and you analyze using the intelligence to see what is it I'm attracted to. And then at least intellectually it's connected. So maybe you're not conscious about it all the time, but it's there in the back of the mind. So whenever you become conscious of it, you're Krishna conscious. So more and more it will become Krishna conscious if you are in that mood, when you see everything through the eyes of scriptures. That's the point about knowledge. So we have to connect everything. And as I said, for me, I'm not doing the direct things most of the time. This is unfortunately my nature. But at least I learned how to connect those indirect things. So I'm becoming purified. And I can see such a difference. I came to Mayapur in 2009, first time. And I had so many misconceptions. And I thought, I was, the king of knowledge, In Denmark I was like so proud, I know much more than the others. And I came there and I saw I knew nothing. I knew nothing about spiritual life. And that made me humble. And that's the essential part of the process. The process is defined by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gave us the 6 Shastaka. He gave us 8 verses. They describe the whole process from Shraddha to Prema, from faith to full-blown devotional service. And the essential verse is the 3rd verse. It says, one must be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than the tree, expecting nothing for yourself, even if you are actually entitled to have some honor in something. If you have that mentality, you can progress. So it's very important, and Krishna, he knows how to chop away all this pride, and this is what is happening. We are getting frustrated in life. But actually frustration and obstacles are the greatest friend. Because when we have obstacles, our illusion is removed. And we are put in a position where we're ready to move radically from where we are. Because, we see that where I am is not something that's worthwhile in one sense. So obstacles can actually bring a lot of transformation. It's
You mean when we have difficulties,
exactly.
Please, Krishna, help us, like that, you mean?
Also,
Yeah.
But also we have certain tendencies to do things in a specific way, and we are very attached to that because we think that I'm the doer. So when I perform an activity in a specific way, then I'm getting a specific result. But it's not us that are getting the result. We're just performing the activity. It's Krishna who is giving us the result through the material energy. So it's coming through practice again. And this is, what we're doing every day, or we should be doing every day.
I have one more question.
Yes?
Thank you. It was for me first time I hear it in the spiritual world exists the duality.
Uh-huh.
I think in the duality exists just here, or not in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, I think it was like everything. It was it is connected with Krishna in all the ways.
Yes.
And with everything and every existence there, and it is full Krishna, and it's not existing this what we have here, I and you. And it is the duality we think in we are separate, or we have these both these energies, and there it is just one with everything. And how you explain it, I know this about feminine and masculine and all it is feminine. And what I understood today, and I want to know if I understood right, in the spiritual world it is still the feminine energy existing. And
Yeah.
This,
Oh, definitely.
I think a little differently.
Yeah. No, this is coming from our kind of background of seeing things as Mayavadis. We don't see a difference in one sense. We see only oneness. We don't see that there is also Krishna's energies. So, but there is, difference and there is oneness simultaneously. And that's why it's called Achincha. It means inconceivable. So this is what it's not just one, it's not just two, but it's both. And this is impossible for a material mind to understand. But it's part of our mentality. That's why we have the pranam mantra for Prabhupada. The last part of it is he's preaching Chaitanya's message in the West that's full of Sunyavadi and that is Mayavad philosophy, and Nirvishesh, that is Buddhist philosophy. So this mentality is what is happening here in the West. And it's actually not just in the West, in all atheistic societies. This is what is happening, that you don't see that God, he has energies as well. So we have the tendency to just see the oneness and try to focus on that and become part of God. And we are also part of God, but not in the same quantity. We are same as God in mentality, in one sense. That is, you have the four Vaishnav disciplic succession, and one of them is qualified oneness. It actually means that we are one, but in mentality. So if you have the same mentality as God, then we are one, in one sense. But for there to be interaction, there have to be two. That's why he expands. That's why when he's one, he's Atmaram. It means that he's just satisfied in himself. But it doesn't give him very much satisfaction. That he can maintain by a fraction of a portion of his energies. That's no problem. But to interact with his devotees, he's using all of his might, all of his qualities. And to interact with that, he has expanded in Radharani, who can be the perfect match for that. Whatever he expands, she can expand. And then there's this transcendental competition to expand, these interactions. And it's like, first we're trying to please Krishna, then he's trying to please us more, then we're trying to please him even more, then he's trying, so it's not static, it's like ever expanding. Even though we have a specific nature in that relationship, but it never becomes dry, it never becomes, it never runs out of opportunities. That's the other thing about the feminine nature. It's called Stri. Stri means that which expands. So there has to be that. And he's much more satisfied interacting with the feminine energy than just to be in the masculine energy, because the masculine energy is just existence. But happiness, we are Satchit Ananda. It means we are eternal, we're full of knowledge, and we're full of bliss. And bliss comes from the interactions. So that's the point. Actually, when we're talking about the Vastutraya, we're talking relationship, process, and goal. The goal is not a specific form, it's the experience that is gained from interaction. And that is what the mind is looking for. That's why the mind is the center, because the mind is like the internal sense through which we are experiencing all the other senses. And the senses are originally spiritual. So when we are engaging them in the relationship to Krishna, then that experience is not just satisfying, it's eternal. Because whenever you remember Krishna, he's there. Even if you remember that you did, that very ecstatic kirtan like 3 years ago, you're there. You're there. But if you remember, your interaction with a child or a spouse or your mother or something, it's just there on the emotional platform when you remember it. It's not expanding, and it will not become more than it is. No, that's.
One more question, maybe other time.
But do we have time?
The question.
What time is it?
It's 4:45.
45?
Yeah.
45?
Yeah.
How long do we?
Mangalavati told me you need to leave around 6 o'clock.
I don't have to leave at a specific time.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we can also continue after. That's another thing. Because this process, sometimes when you have these groups, the questions, they are relevant for everyone. And sometimes the questions are more personal, and other people, they cannot relate to it. So that's, again, as we're talking about the Shiksha Guru kind of thing, we all have some people that we can relate to. It's because they are Svadhyati. Svadhyati means that they are like-minded. So we have to, deal within the groups of people who are like-minded, because a like-minded person can understand who you are. And he can give you the right example, or she can, for that situation. So that's where there also has to be a compatibility between the person asking the question and the person who is answering them.
If it is okay, I can ask the question, if it is okay for everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No.
My thought, it was like if Radha, it is expression of Krishna and experiencing the Krishna's energy.
Uh-huh.
And all we are feminine energy, and just we forget, and we have this limitation in this body. And what I see the devotee before, they are looking just to leave from this planet and not to come back anymore. And my question, it was, how much are the possibilities if we raise up this kind of conscious, and maybe we become like one and understanding more who we are and connecting with Krishna. How much possibilities it was in there to enjoy or to experience who really we are in this reality.
There's full capacity.
It is full capacity.
Yeah. No, if you are doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna, then you can become fully realized this fast. This is actually, again, to bring it back to Bhagavad Gita, because everything is there. When Krishna is talking about just surrender unto me, give up everything and just perform your activities for me. That's the first one. That's like the gopis. He says, if you cannot do that, then you regulate your life, and then you perform sadhana bhakti, And if you cannot do that, then you take the results of your activities, and then you act in a way that is connected to Krishna. If you cannot do that, then you get the results of the activities and you offer a part of that to me. If you cannot do that, then you cultivate knowledge, perform pious activities, charity, build hospitals, dig wells for people, and those kind of things. So this is kind of like a progression or a degression. But the essential thing, as I said earlier, is that it's based on unselfish activities. So on all these levels, people are performing unselfish activities, but the right unselfish activities for their level. And by doing that, they will elevate themselves to the next level, to the next level. But the spiritual level, like the truly spiritual levels, cannot come from this process. From this process, even the Mayavadis, they can come up to the level of of moksha, where they are not attached to this material idea anymore, but from there it's just like the status quo. This is like the normal situation. Only if you perform spiritual activities you will elevate yourself into the spiritual world. This is just, you're not attached to the material, but this is like, you throw up the ball and you are on moksha, and then you fall again. And only when you approach a spiritual master who has seen the spiritual, then you can actually get access to the spiritual. And this is, again, it comes from approaching a spiritual master. So there's only one path. It's not like there are many different paths. It's just where you are on the path. Yeah. That's, it's like a map, goes from here to Krishna. It's called Shraddha. It's first you have faith, then you start associating with devotees. Then from that you will be inspired to follow the process. When you start following the process, then all the unwanted things will be removed in the heart. Then taste appears, a little bit of taste. And then that will become more and more, it will become, it's just attraction, taste. Then you are attached. And from that attachment, it's bhava. It means, the spiritual emotions is really start to work. And then, it just takes off. But the essential point is that after you start removing the unwanted things from the heart, you're coming to the platform of nistha. Nistha means that you're steady. And there, when you're steady, then the taste starts to take over. But actually, it's the taste that runs it all the way. Because the taste is what is attracting you. We are only performing activities because we see a benefit. We see a result that are attractive. So it's there from the beginning. So in one sense, it's not like a ladder where first you have faith, and then when you're coming to associate with devotees, then you give up the faith. No, the faith becomes more. Then you're adding, associating with devotees. And then when you're associating with devotees, you're getting so inspired that the faith, it grows even more, that, okay, what they're doing is beneficial, so maybe I should try it. So I take up the process. And then when you do that, then, the association becomes more, and you're coming to the point of where all the unwanted things, they're removed. And when most of the unwanted things, they're removed, then the faith becomes even stronger. So in one sense you can say Krishna Prema is the mature faith. And the essential thing of all this is associating with the spiritual person. This is what drives the process all the way through, because we don't get faith unless we have association with the spiritual person also. So in one sense, even though in Rupa Goswami's analyzation it comes as a second step, it's actually also the first step, and it drives the whole process throughout. And when we are totally perfect, then we will be situated back in the association of only spiritual people. Unless we choose otherwise, and that's another thing. You have the Nitya Siddhas that are here, and they associate with us, at least, I can say for myself, the fallen, conditioned souls. And they choose to do that, to serve Krishna, because actually if you want to be a well-wisher of someone, you want the best for him. And Krishna, he wants the best for everyone. So if you really want to be the friend of Krishna, then we help him help others. So this is actually the essence of the spiritual process. It's not just me, I want to be perfect. That it's there in the beginning, But then gradually, when we become more and more purified, we want to share it. We want to share it because we found the greatest jewel in the whole of creation, and why not give it to others? But we have to do it according to where they are. That's another thing. We have a tendency that we want to impose what we think on them, but we have to deal with others where they are. Otherwise, it's just me again, We have to be unselfish, and that's also in the relationship with Krishna, We should come to the point of wanting what he wants. So again, that's the oneness. That's the oneness, the same mentality. Hare Krishna.
Okay, you made the sun come out.
Sorry for talking so much. This is my thing. As my wife, she says, there is one button. I'm either on or off, but if you turn on this button, I can just keep on talking and better stop me. So, thank you very much for tolerating me. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Gaura Vaishnavinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Deva.
I want to give just one example. Leonard, he knows nothing about the philosophy. He not speak English and Swedish.
Oh.
He just tested what it is here, just the energy of the emotional get from Krishna, and started chanting, and it is like amazing.
Oh yeah.
What is experiencing.
Yeah.
Without knowing nothing.
Now, all the direct things, even though you are not conscious of them being spiritual, they will give you an effect.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the direct things. They are so powerful. You don't have to be conscious. But they have to be directly connected. That's why then it's connected to the chit potency, which is the knowledge potency. And through doing those activities, knowledge and renunciation will automatically manifest itself. So that's why they're so powerful. They will remove all what is material. So the more we can focus on the direct things, the better. But we need to acknowledge that we have indirect things as well, things that we might need to regulate in our life in order to advance. Instead of it inhibiting us, it will actually be the thorn that removes the thorn, as the example goes. So they're very important. It's not just one or the other, it's both. And that's what Krishna, he says in his Upanishad. He says you have to learn ignorance and knowledge side by side. Otherwise you don't understand, the whole thing. So again, it's 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita. Is Chit Achit Ishvara, it's Krishna, the material energy, and Jiva, like us. And then the nature of activities, and those activities, they're happening within time. So those are the 5 topics, that we need to understand. Yeah, and we're all, even if we're not so intellectual, and even if we're not so attracted to knowledge, we are all acting on knowledge. Whenever we perform an activity, it's based on knowledge. Otherwise you cannot get a proper result. There has to be some knowledge. So everybody is an intellectual in one sense.
In the heart, everyone already
know
everything.
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
there.
It's said that the feminine nature is 5 times as clever. Clever means applied intelligence. So actually, in one sense, you women are much, much smarter than we are. Yeah.
Now the Taravit is coming out.
After.
Thank you. Mogini. come to do the arti today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were able to get through? Okay. Was there recording as well?
No.
Okay.
It's not the YouTube.
Yeah. Nice. I feel better like that. I always feel, when I'm looking at myself and listening to myself, I'm like, oh. It's much easier when you're in it. It's just a flow. What's your name, Prabhu?
Ilya.
Ilya.
Ilya, I'm from Russia, yeah.
You're from Russia. Yeah. And my ex-wife was from Russia as well. Small world. A lot of Eastern Europeans and here. Yeah. So how long have you been in Sweden?
Sweden for about 4 years. But in Malmö, like 2 years.
Okay.
I usually listen online. Okay. Lectures online. Russian people and speakers.
Okay. It's probably also easier to follow.
It's easier, we have more connection, I would say.
Yeah.
Language.
First of all, language, but also, as I said, the mentality. So it's easier to relate to someone who has the same kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And a lot of my co-students in my course, they were Russian speakers. So there's a lot. And how long have you been listening to Krishna conscious lectures?
Oh, that's hard to say because some of them were not really, related to Krishna. It was a bit top level information, let's say, for the general public, not that religious stuff. So I don't know, maybe 9 years, maybe something like that.
Okay.
I'm not really, I'm kind of interested in philosophy, to be honest. I'm not young
Okay.
at this stage of my life.
Well, that's also one way to show. Have you tried chanting, like outside of this?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. That's the essence. That's the main do. All the other things that will come naturally when you chant.
Maybe I'm just waiting.
Yeah. No, but we will come. We're working on, if you're interested in Jnana, then, the more you focus on that, it will become more clear why you should do it in one sense.
Yes, I'm actually, I think I'm just that kind of person. So my professional thing I do is marketing, so I'm doing that stuff. I educate myself a lot, and I had a blog on it, so I kind of try to teach people, not very, not that I wanted to teach everyone, just that the way it goes, it happens like that.
Yeah.
But this stuff is really top level, and maybe I would love to someday teach myself to talk like a guy like you, because I read the books, but I forgot all the names, except for some core idea of the scene, for example, from Shimbabak. Some guys involved in something. Okay, I got this. Then I totally forgot, and I cannot repeat it.
The point is, you have to apply it in your life for it to remember it.
I mean, pronounce.
No. You have to see where it fits in your life, because all this knowledge is not just meant for mental speculation. It's actually meant to be applied in your life. all these principles, they have some connection to some part of your life.
Yeah, kind of true. That's hard to evaluate. How is it applied or not? Like some random people doing some random stuff.
The way you can judge is to see if you are acting according to if you are acting according to the knowledge. But that takes contemplation.
It's hard to evaluate myself.
You can do it afterwards. When you do the activity, you don't usually evaluate, then you're just acting. But then after, when you're sitting and thinking, okay, I did this, and I got this result, all those things, then you can see it, and then you can actually, next time, the knowledge will come in the situation instead. The more you practice it, the more it will come in the activity as well. That's what I mean about the thing, because then it becomes realized. Then it's not just knowledge; it becomes realized knowledge. So it's part of your nature. You will choose next time based on that. But it only comes from practice.
The text I can try it.
Everything
You can
is
help me?
practice.
No, help me and to pronounce the right. Sometimes I do it Bankgiro.
Also, equal activities. That's when you understand how to
We do together with
and you can do it also on the daily activities. Nipajayo Jaya Goda Chande Arati Kosoha Janabhitatavane Jagamanaloba Janabhitatavane Jagamanaloba Gaurange Radhati Kosoma Jaga Janamanaloba Gaurange Radhati Kosoma Jaga Janamanaloba Dakhine Nitai Chan Bame Gadadhara Dakhine Nitai Chan Bame Gadadhara Nikate Advaita Srini Vasa Chakradhara Nikate Advaita Srini Vasa Chakradhara Vasi Asi Gaurachan Ratna Sinhashane Vasi Asi Gaurachan Ratna Sinhashane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Narahari Adi Kori Chamar Dulaya Narahari
Vasu Ghosh Adigaya
Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Ghoshadikaya
Shankha Bhaje Ghanta Bhaje Bhaje Kartala
Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Bhaje Karatala
Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarasala
Madhura Mridanga Bhaje Paramarasala
Shankha Bhaje Ghanta Bhaje Madhur 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 Bhaje
Sangha Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Madhur 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 Bhaje
Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Badana Ujvala
Bahu Koti Chandra Dimi Badana Ujvala
Gala Bese Bana Mala Pore Dhalmala
Gala Dise Vana Mala Kore Jalamala
Shiva Sukala Radha Preme Gada Gada
Shiva Sukhanarada Preme Gada Gada
Bhakti Vinoda Dekhe Gora Re Sampada
Bhagati Vinoda Dekhe Gorara Sampada
Shiva Jayo Jayo Gora Chande Arati Kosoba
Jaya Gora Chande Arati Kosoba
Jahana Bitata Bane Jaga Manalobha
Janai Tata Bane Jaga Janaloba Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare All glories to the Son, the Lord Jesus. All glories to the Son, all glories to Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hogan sounding is me. Daddy. मैंने ऑलमोस्ट पूरा ISKCON नहीं मांगी, एक बार अब मांगी थी फिर नहीं मांगी थी पूरा ISKCOन प्रोग्राम में।
ये भूख लगाते समय क्या?
Jag förstod att du skulle säga det. Att den är väldigt mycket i skriften.
Ja. Det var mycket information. Han är mycket korrekt.
Ja, absolut. Absolut.
Han är jättefin.
Ja, jo, jag tycker också det.
Ja.
Det är en frisk fläkt liksom.
Då till mig också.
Gick extra på dig?
Ja, jag behöver extra. Oj, tack. Nu är det här en dusch.
En dusch. Oj, hjälp. Så mycket blommor här. She's preparing now. The boga. Ja, vi ska offra. Ja.
De har inte offrat.
No, you offer. Because I am not well in my finger. I cannot, and it's difficult for me to. But it doesn't matter. So you take the cover. You know what it is? Cover. No, when you offer.
Fast sen hon som är i Indien.
Men, jo, det är hennes mamma som gärna vill ha henne där. Hon har ju varit lite dålig, men det är kanske inte jätteroligt. Men det är klart att mamman och pappan vill att hon ska vara där. Och hennes bror, han är i Singapore. Så de har ju bara 2 barn. Och jag menar, de kan ju inte vara så gamla, hennes föräldrar. Hon är kanske 30, 32 eller någon färre 35. Eller de kan vara. Så de kanske är, 60 år. Så det är klart de saknar barnbarn och dotter liksom. Så det är lite dilemma. Men mamma vill att hon ska vara där. Bankgiro. Ja, men precis. Men han, vad heter han, Ganesh var jag hört. Han vill ju vara kvar också i Indien, var någon som sa. Att gå i skolan där. Ja. Men vet du vad, telefonen ringde klockan 8 i morse. Jag tänkte, va? Ella ringer aldrig så tidigt. Ja, men jag visste, vem skulle bara så ringa så tidigt? Då var det Benjamin. Och så sa han var ett stort smile och sa, jag har köpt biljett nu. Så han kommer den 12 mars.
Nej.
Jo. Så det är helt otroligt. Så han blev så förälskad i Sverige. Ja. Och han ska söka jobb, han ska söka bostad, han ska... Ja. Allting. Och sen så vill han kanske plugga och göra lumpen. Så det är mycket som försiggår i honom nu liksom. Himla. Okej.
Vet du vad hon ringer? Jag bara tänkte att istället gå här på vinden så vi kan komma dit och någon gång för att jag tycker det är mycket goda. Ja, kanske inte goda, det är inte smakat. Men
Det står online.
Nej, 60 år.
är det 60 kronor? Ja.
Ja, jag har varit här flera gånger.
Då skulle jag ringa till
Ja, du vet, ibland får jag bara en idé. Nu ska jag åka och hämta. Ibland hämtar jag bara. Jag vill äta bara en gång här tror jag. Men sen vill jag hämta bara.
Ja, och så är det hem.
Ja.
Men vi kan göra så när vi vill träffa oss.
Absolut. Ja. Ja. Men som han sa i början, han är mera liksom att läsa. Han är inte så mycket för hur allt det här och så. Det där draperiet, security.
Det är också. Och du skaffat draperi?
Va?
Ska du skaffat draperi?
Nej, men hon kommer med. Jag har ju en knön här, vet du. en sena som går i.
Och därför kanske då
Ja.
har den.
Ja, precis. För den här senan ska gå i en sentunnel så att den här fingrarna kan böja sig. Senorna går fram och tillbaka i sentunneln. Och nu när jag har den här knölen så går inte den in där. Och då blir det liksom...
Men vad händer på det jobbet? Har den här? För det var ju ingenting.
उसको बुलाइए दोनों
Massor.
दोनों को बुला ली दोनों का पकड़ेगा
Vind. Liksom.
बुलाइए
Jag
ना
har jobbat
छोटी को
jättemycket. Nej, jag tror att det kom. För jag kom hem i januari ifrån.
गणेश
Så att det kommer någon gång. I februari. Är det musik?
पकड़ता तो बढ़िया रहता है लोग आते बढ़िया रहता है लखनऊ
Really? Maybe you can go it live. Because I can see it.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prabhupada, Prestaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasayine Ishesha Shunyavadi Rashata Deshataine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasayine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Rashata Deshataine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadam Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadam Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadam Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadam Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadam Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadam Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Everyone.
Är det rata? With some prayers or yours?
What?
Be close.
Thank you, Mataji.